We're not just going to tell you the story of the Titanic. No, you're going to live it. We're going to place you right there on its decks during its final terrifying hours. So, let's begin.
All right, picture it. The date is April 14th, 1912. The time is 11:39 p.m. You are standing on the deck of the largest moving object ever created by man, and you're floating in the middle of a vast, silent ocean. The air is bitingly cold, near freezing, but the sea itself, it's unnaturally calm.
A survivor, Colonel Archibald Gracie, he described it perfectly. He said the water was like a perfect black mirror, reflecting every single star from above. There's no moon. And this profound stillness, it wraps you and the 2,200 other souls on board in this dangerous, false sense of being absolutely invincible.
But that illusion, it's about to be completely shattered.
All of a sudden, the silence just shatters. You hear 3 sharp rings from the lookout bell, a frantic warning. A telephone on the bridge rings. A voice yells, "Iceberg right ahead." An officer screams the order, hard as starboard, trying desperately to swing this colossal ship away. But it's just too late. The ship is too big. The iceberg, way too close.
You brace for impact, but there is no violent explosive crash. Instead, you feel this subtle shudder, a long, grinding vibration that just runs the length of the entire ship. Some chunks of ice, they get dislodged and fall onto the forward deck. Some passengers even come out laughing, kicking them around like soccer balls. There's confusion, for sure, but panic? Not even close.
The truth of what just happened, well, it doesn't reveal itself in a sudden bang, but in a slow, creeping, and absolutely undeniable dread. You start to notice the little things. A strange, hissing sound from deep within the ship. You realize later that's air being violently forced out by thousands of tons of seawater pouring in. Down below, the ship's designer, Thomas Andrews, he's done the grim math. He tells the captain the ship is doomed. You now have at most 90 minutes, and you can feel it. The deck beneath your feet, it's starting to take on a slight but unmistakable forward tilt.
And this is where the atmosphere gets completely surreal. A deafening roar suddenly erupts from the funnels above you. It sounds like 20 locomotives venting high-pressure steam at once, making it impossible to even talk. And yet, through that roar, you hear the ship's orchestra. They've struck up a cheerful ragtime tune on the boat deck. It's this desperate, almost defiant attempt to maintain order against the unthinkable.
1,178. That is the total number of spaces available in the lifeboats. And with over 2,200 people on board, well, the calculation is simple, and it's horrifying. More than 1,000 people are going to be left behind when the last boat is gone.
By 1:30 in the morning, that gentle slope of the deck has become a pronounced, dangerous angle. The pretense of calm is long gone. Panic begins to take hold as hundreds of people surge toward the few remaining boats. You hear the sharp crack of an officer's pistol firing into the air, a desperate try to control the terrified crowds.
The end comes so quickly. The final minutes aren't a slow slide into the ocean, but a sudden, violent, chaotic collapse.
Around 2:15 a.m., the bow suddenly just drops like a stone. This sends a giant wave racing up the boat deck, sweeping dozens of people, maybe even you, off your feet. As you're struggling in that churning water, you see the forward funnel, a 5-story tower of steel, tear loose from its moorings. It topples like a falling tree, crashing into the sea with a deafening roar and crushing anyone unlucky enough to be in its path.
For 2.5 hours, this ship has been a brilliant island of light in the vast darkness. Now, the lights flicker once, twice, and then they die completely. You are plunged into absolute freezing blackness. The only light left is from the cold, distant stars.
And in the darkness, the sounds. The sounds become your entire world. It's this unholy symphony of destruction coming from inside the ship. A deep, rumbling roar as everything not bolted down, from furniture to the massive engines themselves, breaks loose and just crashes forward through the ship's interior. The enormous strain becomes too much. The flooded bow is pulling the ship down while the air-filled stern pulls it up. And with a sound like rolling thunder that you feel deep in your bones, the gargantuan steel hull fails. The ship is breaking in two. The stern, now free, crashes back into the water for just a moment before it rears up again, almost vertical against the night sky. You can see the silhouettes of hundreds of people clinging to the railings like swarming bees before they lose their grip and fall in masses into the darkness. At 2:20 a.m., with a final gulp, the last piece of the Titanic disappears beneath the waves.
The violence is over, but what follows is a new kind of horror.
You see, the silence isn't really silent. It is filled with the cries of over 1,000 people, all struggling for their lives in the freezing water around you. It's a sound that will haunt survivors for the rest of their days. A dismal, collective moan of human despair.
The water is -2 degrees Celsius. That's 28 degrees Fahrenheit. It is so cold, it feels, as one officer described it, like 1,000 knives being driven into your body. It isn't hypothermia that kills you. No, it's the initial shock, instant cardiac arrest, the inability to control your breathing. For almost everyone in the water, death comes in minutes.
And so, over the next 15 to 20 minutes, that horrifying chorus of shrieks gradually fades away. The calls for help become weaker, more sporadic, until one last cry echoes across the water. And then, a dead, haunting silence settles over the glassy sea. 13. That is the number of people who were pulled from the water into the lifeboats. 13 out of more than 1,500. The boats had room for nearly 500 more people, but in the darkness and the fear, they rode away. And so you're left with one final, unavoidable thought. Feeling the deck break apart beneath you, plunged into that freezing darkness. What would your story have been? Would you have found a boat? Or would you have become just another voice, crying out before being swallowed by the silence?